Welcome everyone. We're very excited for today's lunch and learn about supercharging dental RCM with AI. Thanks to everyone for joining us. The intent for this lunch and learn is just to have a very short but highly informative conversation. We'll discuss some real world use cases and most importantly, some real world results and outcomes. But before we dive in, just a few housekeeping items. We invite you to actively participate. So there is a chat feature at the bottom right-hand side. You can ask questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll answer them throughout the discussion. Second, we will send the full recording and slides to everyone after the event. And finally, if you are attending live, you'll receive a gift card in your inbox soon to cover your lunch. So we hope you enjoy, and thanks for being here. So we'll go ahead and kick things off. So to get started, we'll do a couple introductions. I'll do a quick overview about Thoughtful AI. So at Thoughtful, our mission is to fix the US healthcare system. We believe the most impactful way to serve this mission is to start by fixing the underlying economic model through RCM. So we're excited to host this complimentary event like this. So there's everyone can realize that there's uncapped potential with technologies like AI and automation. A little bit about me. I'm the co-founder and chief experience officer here at Thoughtful AI. And we started Thoughtful AI in 2020 on the premise of bringing enterprise-grade AI and automation solutions to healthcare as a fully managed service. We recognize the ability to unlock millions of additional profit potential and efficiency for providers across all specialties. So next, and without further ado, I'd love to introduce to you one of our beloved customers and our guest speaker, Kara Perry from Signature Dental Partners. So Kara, you mind just giving us a quick backdrop on your career, how you got started in RCM, and maybe a little bit about Signature Dental Partners?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, my name is Kara Perry, and I'm the Vice President of Revenue Cycle Management for Signature Dental. I've been there for about 4 years now. When I started, we were at 30 practices. We're acquisition based, and today we closed our 100th. So we've seen a lot of really, good growth, and we're going for 200. I've been in the RCM field for about 15 years with other previous DSOs. I've been partnering with Thoughtful for I've been utilizing them for a year and then, partnering with them for about 2 years. And so, I've just, just reading through medical journals, just the way of AI taking over and being the future, we're so glad that we've utilized them and just started a year ago, and just to see the progress has been awesome. So I'm really excited to tell you guys about it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kara. All right. So to kind of set the stage, we want to talk a little bit about what we call the perfect storm that's forming in our healthcare industry. And, we kind of see this is like a trifecta where we're seeing continuous demand increase. So as baby boomers move into their older age, as we start to see market consolidation, as practices like DSOs are continuing to grow through mergers and acquisitions, we're constantly seeing this rise in demand. Kara, do you mind telling us a little bit about that growth trajectory you sort of shared? Like, how are you guys looking to grow? Looks like you guys have been on a tear right now from a growth perspective. What does that look like over the next couple of years? Maybe share a little bit about, from a demand perspective, how you guys are seeing growth in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So how we run our DSO is we centralized our RCM functions: credentialing, payment posting, IV, which means you bring in a lot of additional overhead, full-time FTE. And so with our projection of, our future and where we see us going is we really had to find a resource and solution, because as you guys know, you're constantly hiring, you're constantly training, with any kind of growth, just adding that additional FTE. You have people that do the job well, you have the people that don't do the job well, you have people calling sick, you have employees quitting. It's really hard to find those really good resources. And so that's what kind of led us down this path of, AI, is finding a way to be able to continue to have a really centralized RCM function for our DSO, but be able to be scalable. So with our growth and with, being able to add additional practices consistently without that additional, overhead training, the worry about, people leaving, basically how they're doing the job. Are they doing the job well? So just being able to really take full control over that and being able to do it well and being able to do it with minimal staff. And so, this is really a great solution when it comes to staffing and being able to scale your DSO.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the complexities that you see with that scale. So, you guys are growing through a lot of mergers and acquisitions, it sounds like. So you're buying up new practices. Are you guys expanding into new states? Are you adding different payers into your mix? Are you acquiring new EHR systems? Like, what are all of the inputs that you guys see that might add incremental complexity to your business as you grow?
Yeah, absolutely. We are expanding. We expand states pretty continuously. We're just adding here and there. But when it comes to like the processes, it's really like we're acquisition based. So we inherit different PMS systems. And so just training people on different platforms, having different reporting, having different processes, that kind of thing, and training employees to understand, all of those like differences in between how to do the process well has been challenging. And then also, of course, like the different, PPOs, fee schedules, insurance verification's huge with that. I mean, just how much time RCM's like manual functions take up throughout the day and just being able to automate that. So you're able to take your employees that originally did like 5 practices to be able to do 10, 15 because they're working the outliers, not the whole process anymore. So you're able to utilize an employee for more and then have better results along the way, which is awesome.
Definitely. Can we talk a little bit about the staffing side of this? So, there's obviously, as you guys grow, there's continuous complexities from a volume perspective. And if we look at that as like the demand side of this equation, on the supply side of this equation, Kara, like you and your team are continuously having to staff and keep up with this growth. What does that look like for you? Are you seeing high turnover rates like the rest of the industry is? I think RCM specifically sees between 10 and 40% attrition rates, which is some of the highest if you compare to other industries. Maybe talk to us a little bit about if you've uncovered any staffing challenges or what that journey's been like for you.
No, absolutely. I think everyone does. I mean, you're trying to find that perfect employee, especially because a lot of us are remote now that are doing the process well continuously. And like I said, before Thoughtful, like we were really struggling with how we were going to scale, how we were going to keep like the count of FTE down, and like with our growth, because realistically, we were not able without Thoughtful to be able to have our employees do more than 5 practices each when it came to payment posting and insurance verification, which leaves you having to constantly hire, constantly train with any kind of growth, as well as replacing those employees that are leaving. I mean, we have a very competitive industry, so people can up and leave kind of every day. They are offered new jobs, they're able to go here and there, and a really good RCM person's hard to come by. And so before we were able to kind of utilize AI, we were probably capped out at 5, processes or practices per person, which left us with every 5 practices hiring, training, and then constantly hiring and training with people that are walking out the door.
Yeah, that's one consistency is, even if people have good process, which, a lot of people struggle with that just by the way of growth, there's this constant leaky bucket on the talent side of the equation. And I think the average, if you look across all industries, attrition rates are about 3%. And as I mentioned earlier, in healthcare RCM, it's 10 to 40%. So, anywhere from 3 to 10x the attrition rate. So it's definitely something that we're seeing that's substantially more impactful in the healthcare side of things. So let's go ahead and move into okay, so we talked about some of the challenges. What does this look like as an industry? Like, how is this showing up at your front door from a metrics perspective, from a KPIs perspective? So, a couple of industry stats that our teams pulled together. So, having worked with dozens of providers across different specialties, 90% of claim denials are preventable. So a lot of times there's just some sort of technicality or some issue with the actual creation of the claim that is driving the denial. We're seeing for every time a claim is denied, it needs to be reworked. It adds $118 of cost per claim to your overall fully burdened cost to collect. we see that 65% of denied claims are never resubmitted. So that's just truly lost revenue opportunity for organizations. And then across the board, similarly, Kara, as we talked, 83% of RCM teams are understaffed. As you look at these types of metrics, how do you guys measure performance, and are you seeing similar types of issues, maybe before working with Thoughtful? Like, let's talk a little bit about how you guys think about performance and some of the KPIs that you're tracking regularly.
No, absolutely. Before we came over to Thoughtful, we had a ton of denial rates. I mean, we were relying on the practices to release their claims every night from the PMS system, as well with all of the accurate information. As we know, insurance doesn't want to pay us. They just don't. So of course you have to jump through a ton of hoops when it comes to adding narratives, x-rays, everything that's important for these larger claims. And they were going out without those attachments. No matter how even good the person was, they were going out without all the correct information. So my team was constantly working the back end basically instead of the front end. Like, we were trying to clean up these claims, the denials. I think before Thoughtful, we were at like a 30, I think it's actually closer to 40-day turnaround of claims, being paid, which will drive you crazy. You're just trying to get that money in the door. And like you said, I mean, with having the amount of staff that you have, them having to focus on other projects, it takes them time to get to those denied claims. And sometimes they go timely just because of the fact of the volume that they're working and the claims that are coming in incorrect. And as well as when it comes to insurance verification, we were also having this in practice, like before we became centralized and utilized Thoughtful. And there was a lot of claims coming back denied due to, patients not being eligible, their, incorrect subscriber IDs, just missing things, and then incorrect fee schedules being attached. So they were not collecting at the time of service consistently like they should have. And so just those things impacting your day-to-day makes your percentage of collections go down, as well as your turnaround rate of, claims coming in paid. And so it definitely was a struggle. And that's how I was actually able to get our team on board for trying Thoughtful and trying Boss. It was because of the clean claims process. Like, I was like, let me show you what they can do, and it paid off. So it's just one of those things I think everyone deals with all of the time, but AI has been a really good solution for us.
Nice. And you touched on some of this, but maybe can you tell us a little bit about, what was the picture when you showed up, and there was 30 practices, what was when you were assessing, the collection time and speed, I think you said before Thoughtful, you're upwards of 40 days. And what was the team morale like when you showed up with that 30? Maybe just talk to us, what has that growth trajectory been from 30 to 100?
No, absolutely. So when I first started at Signature, they had no RCM department. So I feel like I came in and just dropped a bunch of bombs everywhere. I just kind of changed things up. I took it from practice to centralized. And so we grew from a team of me to now have a team of 35 running credentialing, IV payment posting, as well as patient AR process. We went from EFT to ERA. We've been able to really grow, but it was a struggle just getting things moving. And just once we got centralized and we were able to get the processes in place and really, bring the money, have it worked consistently, that's when I thought to AI. Once we were structured correctly, I was able to kind of look at it and just say, what's our next step? What's the next evolution of RCM? And I just kept reading through medical journals, RCM journals, and everyone was saying AI was the way of the future. How are we going to, basically establish the growth, keep it going, bust through those industry standards and be able to minimize full-time employees. And so after building out the centralized team, my next step was to get AI. And so it's been a year now and we just, keep moving, which is awesome.
Let's talk about those team dynamics. There's concern anytime you're bringing in a new technology, especially one that's like an optimizer or efficiency, and especially with AI, taking jobs can be a potential concern. How does your team think about that? Was there any concern with some of your existing team members, hey, is this going to take my job? Or how did you navigate as a leader? How did you navigate those conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. So there, people do get nervous. People get nervous around AI because it's foreign. It's something new. Like, what if it crashes? What if they lose their jobs? Like, what if, X, Y, and Z? And so basically, I'm very upfront with my team. I was very visible to the process. I included them on everything. I let them know how this was going to make their lives easier. And so basically, they were really involved in the process. I let them know timelines, what was moving. If they had any questions, I was more than happy to answer it. And so once we've got our first process up and running with, no issues, and it made their life easier, they literally come to me all the time now. They're like, what's our next process? Because a lot of it is manual and, like insurance verification. A bot can verify 150 patients in an hour. Like that's off our plate. And so we're able to kind of pivot and work on bigger projects as opposed to like having, like doing the little stuff all day. So they were nervous in the beginning, but after the results came in and it made their life easier, they love it. I mean, they're all on board. And so it's been a really, really good process for my team, especially.
Great. Got a couple questions coming in here. So, what advice would you give like RCM leaders who are trying to get the leadership teams on board with an AI solution? I know it's a newer technology. There could be some potential, concerns around, letting it like last the test of time a little bit out in the market. But we're seeing companies that adopted earlier than later are winning in the market. How would you talk about bringing this up with your leadership? How did you approach this with your leadership team?
Absolutely. This was probably the biggest hurdle was getting people on board because people get nervous. And so the nice thing about Thoughtful, Dan and Alex, was that I bothered them a lot in the first beginning. I needed a lot of statistics. Like I needed to prove out, how good this could potentially be for the company, as well as letting them know if we don't jump on board now, we're going to be left behind. This is the way of the future. And so I basically, I put together like a business plan almost of like how this could help our business, the ROI, how we were going to be able to scale growth without adding full-time employees. And then I basically, how I truly got this going is I said, let me run with one process to my, my equity team as like, let me run with one process. If it doesn't work out, we can call it. And we crushed the first process. I mean, it made us beat industry standards at the end of the year, and they basically gave me reins for full speed ahead. I'll tell you, when it comes to Thoughtful, is that the customer service really exists. So there's never been an issue where things got scary or we couldn't get a hold of anybody or we weren't able to produce on what we said we would. And so by them being like fully involved and them having the team that they do, I was really able to get people on board. And I'll tell you, like, they were willing to meet with your equity partners, anybody that needs help to have that little bit of push, reach out to me and Dan. Like, we'll get them to get there because it's absolutely worth it. And you'll see, that difference in your company right away. And it's exciting. And it's basically, like I said, if you're not doing it now, you're going to regret it in a year because you could be at your, getting your processes up and running and scaling your employees, which is awesome.
Love that. So I just put some of your metrics up here. We don't have to walk through them specifically, but it looks like, these are some of the outcomes that I know you and your leadership team are excited about. Maybe
They're actually better now, Dan. We have you guys, we have
Nice.
a 17-day turnaround of claims right now, and we ended the year at 102% collections.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we love to see these outcomes. This is why we're in this business, is to help providers, improve the financial performance. We do got a bunch of other questions coming in, if we don't mind jumping back into some. So let's see here. So, okay, here's a good one. So if you're not in the billing department, but you think your organization, could really use this, let's talk about like how much might you bring that in. I have a point of view on that, but maybe Kara, from your perspective, as an RCM leader, if you have team members that want to bring you new ideas for things, whether it's a new use case for AI or whether it's a new technology, like what are the types of things that you might want them to bring with that ask? Like how do you handle, bringing in new technologies or new solutions into your org?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get approached from people all the time because people go to conventions, they come in with new ideas, they met with new people, and so they have like good ideas for, RCM or even another department. Like I approached accounting when it came to Thoughtful because of the process would, fit them well. And so I would recommend like getting like call going, and so that they can see what Thoughtful offers, what they could do potentially for your company, how it would be a good fit, because they do have different processes. And so as an RCM person, I'm always looking for how can we collect the money quicker. And so if you can show them stats with like the turnaround days, I mean, we all know this, you know, the metrics because we talk to them all the time. So if you can show the improvement on those metrics, as well as jump on a call with, you know, Alex or Dan or myself or anybody that has been through it, I think it would, you know, allow them to open the door to the thought of AI for your company.
Really cool. So we've got a couple questions around, the realistic timeline to fully adopt AI from the moment you got your leadership team to say yes to the moment you started getting impact. Maybe like, what is that journey? What was that journey like for you?
No, absolutely. Okay, so with any process, you're going to start off with the mapping session. And so you kind of look at the process big picture. And so you give yourself a timeline. I mean, I've been with it a year. And so right now I'm getting everything basically lifted off and coming, you know, basically all my hard work's coming through. But what they do is they will deploy portions of your process as it comes through. So like, let's say for like insurance verification, Delta Dental is our biggest payer. So we went with insurance verification. We were able to deploy insurance verification for Delta Dental right away. Then we went to, let's say, MetLife, then Cigna, you know, so you're able to start with pieces of the process before you even get to that finish line. So you don't have to worry about building the whole thing before you start reaping the benefits of the process. Even though you're still building it out, you're able to see things as you go along. And then the nice thing about Thoughtful is they give you a ton of visibility. You have a website that shows your mapping. They have the ROI return for you. So it's like if my equity company or our investors or my executive team are like, hey, Kara, where are they at? I know exactly where they're at. I can speak right to it and I know where we're going. I know when our timelines will end. So that visibility helps me keep everyone in the loop as well as you. And you're able to basically stand it up quicker because you're not waiting for that finish line before you start walking it. So it's awesome.
Wonderful. So we got another question that came up. I want to jump to this slide because it's somewhat topical. So the question is, we haven't implemented AI yet. Where's the best place to start? Are there any specific areas or use cases that you would recommend starting? I did flash up the slide here of some of our featured use cases. You know, obviously we spanned beyond this. So we are a comprehensive sort of RCM and organizational AI platform, but you know, we've got eligibility verification on here. We've got claims, there's payment posting, prior auth. Kara, where would you particularly recommend to start, or how should an organization be thinking about a priority list?
I would start with clean claims. That's what I started with, and that had the most impact on our company. So by standing that up, you're doing multiple things. You are sending out your claims out timely, you are sending them out accurately, and you're like reducing your time turnaround of payment, which is quicker. Your denial rate goes down, which means more money. And so you're able to really show, you know, your executive team everything that, you know, you're able to bring like value to the company, and you can actually show them in your metrics. Clean claims is going to give you your biggest bang right from the start and give your, you know, people the visibility to what they can do for you.
Wonderful.
And then eligibility. Nobody wants to do it. Insurance verification's tough. And so if you can get that off a team's plate and automatic or whatever, you will save your team hours and everyone a headache in that hard, you know, job of trying to find good insurance verifiers.
Yeah, we typically see, I mean, now we only sell in packages of a minimum 2 use cases and above, but we're typically seeing, you know, claims is a hot one, and then one of the front end. So either like an eligibility or a prior auth, we are seeing, you know, those tend to be places where companies are looking to start. And then we always are seeing like payment posting as a fast follow. All right, let's see here. I got a question about what lessons have you learned from your journey in RCM transformation, like particularly in the DSO space? Are there any like key lessons that maybe have that jump out as some top learnings?
Oh, absolutely. And so what I would recommend whenever you start with any process is that you want to find the one person that is your best. Like they are the best at the subject. They know how to run it the best. Like, so you have one person that's your contact person for your engineer. They basically will be your go-to to run the process and get it stood up. And then also like just having them, be on the weekly calls, that their time management's there. In the beginning, we kind of had a couple people in the mix, but I've realized as I've gone through processes, if you have one person running that, it moves much quicker and cleaner. So that would be my recommendation.
Great. And then I just want to highlight for everyone here, this is what our process looks like. We usually start out with strategy and insights. So this is really where we partner. For example, we partner with Kara and her leadership team around what does success look like. And usually they're targeting a couple key metrics as an outcome, whether it's just reduction in the overall cost to collect, whether it's improvement on DSO or those cash cycles, or whether there's some other metric that's top priority. We really want this to be oriented. The whole implementation is oriented around value recognition. So we really want to define what those objectives are. And then we move into getting the integration plans with the team and into the systems. We drive through the actual build, and then we're tracking these outcomes in partnership with our customers. So everyone can orient around, hey, value is actually being realized. We're actually seeing, the metrics move that we want to have moved. And then lastly, we always lead with security and trust. So we are HIPAA and SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We do want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with their PII information being operated and being worked on. So this is a little bit how we approach. Looks like we've got one last question that just came through. Kara, what would be just like if you had to give one or two pieces of advice for DSOs who are curious about what a strategy might look like for them? Where might you tell them to look, or what questions should they be asking?
I would just say to get on, I kind of said this before, but just to kind of get on a call, kind of get on a call with you, like somebody at Thoughtful, and go over where your, like your hurt points are, or where you want to see yourself in the next year. And then go from there, just see what they offer. The nice thing about Thoughtful, their customer service is amazing. And then they're also like, they can tailor to you. And so you can offer things that you need help with. And that's like where your company needs to go in order for you to like really start the process, to like get people on board, like hit that one thing that's like your company really needs and get Thoughtful to assist you with it, and then move from there. Like I said, you could get either of us on the call, just like opening that door where people actually see the benefit of getting Thoughtful. And the one thing I would recommend truly is starting now. It's just going to grow and grow and grow. In a year from now, you could be beating industry standards, being scalable. And if you start now, you're going to be there before you know it. And that's where we're at. And that's why I say that is I'm so glad I started a year ago and are able to stand it up now. But I would just recommend like getting people that you have to sell to on a call so they can see what Thoughtful can do for your company.
Love that. And actually, one last question did come in. I think this is really interesting. If you're considering like wholesale, just outsourcing your RCM or your billing, because I know that's an alternative solution too. Maybe like, did you ever consider just completely outsourcing RCM, and like why take this internal like AI driven strategy?
So basically, I've outsourced functions before, and by not having them being involved in your company, you're going to get not as good of a service. So I've outsourced credentialing previously. They were like lacking on dates. Their turnaround time was not there. I couldn't really control it. So by going this way, I'm able to have my centralized team that's able to run it exactly how I want to be running the outliers. And they basically are more invested in the process. And then using Thoughtful, we're able to have like both of, the best of both worlds. I'm able to, not have as many, but I'm able to have the best. And then I'm able to have processes that move much quicker outside of my team. And that's what I would recommend. It's hard to outsource and control that piece.
Totally. All right, great. Well, we're squeaking in right at time. So again, Kara, thank you so much for joining us. Hope everyone had, a good time here, learning a lot. We are going to distribute the full video out to anyone who missed it. So again, Kara, thank you so much. And we'll talk to everyone soon.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
See ya.